Qalile silinde nje uminister angene njengoba bese siqalile le caucus esibambe ngaliya ne leadership cele ukuthi uqale kukhulunywe nayo segoqekile bengicela nje ukuthi sizame ukuzinza sihlale uminister no MEC bazawungena siqedele umsebenzi wosuku ngiqinisekile ukuthi ngenkathi bekhuluma nominister ekhuluma uyokukhava nebese uxoxa ukucaucus ngoba I'm sure bala bomela ukwazi ukuthi awu benixoxani nathi 15 minutes nathatha isikhathi ngiyacela nje kodwa ngokukhulu ukuhlonipha ukuthi la asondele umongameli beindustry babe khona la etafuleni bobabili ngithi nithe kunephini that's fine say so ngiyocela nje ningisize ngani zakwethu besathatha indawo thina sibe sihlala sithola indawo yokuhlala let's take our seats sesele nje nezinkulumo ezimbili ngani zakwethu aziziningi silinde umongameli bathatha indawo yabo ngicela sizenze ngani zakwethu ukuze nje isikhathi sesihambile kanti sisazohamba welcome baba just a quick update bese siuthandazile umthandazo ngeculo lesizwe iculo lesizwe liwumthandazo kodwa sime ngenkathi MEC esabeka amazwi okusimukela with your permission I think I must allow her ngicela sithathe itulo zethu zakwethu lapha emuva so that there is not much movement. Can we take our seats? Siqhubeke. So I think to deal with the balance of the program, we're going to get the MEC back to render her and conclude her welcoming remarks. She will then introduce the minister. The minister will address us. At the end of the minister's address, I think it's important for me to try and tighten the program now. We will conclude the program, sithole lunch, but minister with the entourage, la ngaphandle, nani nivumelekile ukuthi nikubone lokho. Kunemoto emile okuyiyona ezobisebenziswa eyokubonisa nje le. There are others in the provinces. Because the announcement the minister is making today, it's going to be important that we execute it quickly. So, sifuna nazi nonke ukuthi apply kanjani kule process. Kungenzeki lokho ke kwakhalwa ngakho phambilini ukuthi hayi sesi-applyila kufika. So ke ngizama ukunikeza isithombe kunaleyo moto kodwa kunanezinye izinto ke enizibonile ezimile that you can see which are part of this work. Particularly the vehicle ka TRSA, I think it's important. So ngenkathi udla lunch or usuqedile, give yourself time. There are people lapha just so that you understand the process. Bakhona nabazo apply namhlanje. Siqhubekele phambili. May I at this point hand over to you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DG. I'm from the ANC Youth League, and after a hot discussions that we just had, I want to sing a revolutionary song. So I'm not sure if you're going to join me because I'm an MEC now. Okay, let me start it properly. Taxi industry beikona. Emzabalazweni. Taxi industry beikona. Emzabalazweni. Emzabalazwe. 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 Taxi industry beikona. Emzabalazweni. Taxi industry beikona. Emzabalazweni. Emzabalazwe. Emzabalazweni. Thank you very much. I just thought that we should do that and not pray, but just remind each other where we come from. The taxi industry was there before 1994. And like all of us, and like other industries, because this was a black man-made industry, it struggled. And it can no longer continue to struggle under a democratic government. So thank you very much, Program Director. And thank you very much, my revolutionary sister, Honorable Minister, Mechukunga, the colleagues that are here from government, and most importantly, our valued stakeholders, South Africans, the taxi industry and the leadership of the locals, the regions, and the provincial structures that are here. Ntate Tsebe and Ntate Mahlangu, good afternoon to you and the taxi industry in our country. We also want to greet all other leaders from the public transport sector that are present here today. The colleagues we work with to assist us implement the manifesto of the ANC. There is the officials led by the DG and the HOD of Gauteng that are here, as well as those who are coming from municipalities. All distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, and everybody who is not gender conforming. Dumelang bagolo. So I thought I'm not vocally gifted, but I think there's a slogan for you. And we must continuously singing this slogan so that we remind each other who we are, where we come from, and where we want to go. We just had an engagement with the minister as the industry. And that engagement. There's nothing wrong that the industry did. It's just that it was a miscommunication of when do we do it. And for that miscommunication, we apologize because the minister thought we'll do the sitting that we did after the session. And we are very sorry for that. We know that in our quest to make sure that South Africa remains a prosperous country for all of us who live in it, we must make sure that we provide also quality services to the people of South Africa. And for us to be able to do that as a democratic government, at the center of that, we need you as an industry that help us to move people from one point to another. I think you are currently, as a transport industry, a biggest contributor to our economic growth. And no one has a right to undermine you. Clap hands. Those who are from Gauteng, they know how we feel. And the minister earlier just demonstrated how she feels about the industry, because she knows it. She participated in the industry. And a lot of our leaders, including the leadership that we see here from the industry, have the same feeling. And we all know where we want to go, and we are going to get there, despite the challenges that we are faced with. So we are therefore very excited as the Gauteng provincial government, as led by Ntate Panyaza Lesufi, to be joining the national government in this occasion to announce the extension of the Taxi Relief Fund. With all its challenges, we will conquer. Our message of support is a bold one, Minister, that we thank you and we thank the partners that you have partnered with to help us to fully implement this. And coming from a meeting that we come from, I think there's a lot that still needs to be done. And I know that we are capable to make sure that before the 29th of May, we should have put measures and mechanisms in place to make sure that the issues raised by the national structures that are here are addressed, and we have a way to ensuring that we achieve. We all know that COVID-19, we all know what COVID-19 did to us. And I think to an extent the industry is still struggling with what COVID-19 imposed on them. And I think as a public transport sector, Minister, like the buses and like the bus operators, we need to really take care of this. And I know on your table, we're dealing with how are we going to be subsidizing the low-income earners who are using taxis to commit to economic activities of their choice. We also want to make an open call to the private sector involved in transport to say the democratic government has put a once-off 1.1 billion, and you are being challenged to contribute whatever you could to turn this into a sustainable fund that could enable the taxi industry to implement some of the brilliant ideas and plans they always share with us, including the modernization and digitalization of the industry. I think the President, not speaking for you, President Tebe, that you are from a very hot meeting of the financial sector that refuses to fund this industry. And I think it's uncalled for, and I think as a democratic government, we need to join hands and approach the financial sector to make sure that it also funds this industry and does not discriminate the industry. Minister, I also want to add my voice to call on all those who qualify to benefit from the relief fund to come forward. There is help to complete forms. There is help to explain to everyone to ensure that no one is left behind. And I think our office in the provincial government will do everything in their power to assist the beneficiaries to also benefit accordingly. On behalf of Honorable Premier Panyaza Lesufi, as well as the EXCO in Gauteng, allow me to convey words of gratitude and well wishes to this Taxi Relief Fund extension, and further assure you that as Gauteng Provincial Government, we will work intensively to support the Taxi Relief Fund extension. And the Gauteng taxi industry knows that we are going to do it. President Zebe and President Matlangu, I told you, you at National are still planning. We in Gauteng are doing. We have spoken a lot, We have planned a lot. It's time to do. It's time for action, led by our Premier. The taxi industry has been affected badly by the economic effects of the national lockdown during COVID-19, and they are still on their path to recovery, and that's why they require all our support as government and as well as the private sector. And that's why we will work with you hand in hand towards the financial sector in this country to make sure that they are able to assist where they can as an industry, as a sector. This is the industry which serves as the backbone of the transportation network, accounting for 23% of all the peak period trips in our province. And that's why we'll prioritize and elevate the issues of the funding of the sector by the financial sector in our province. We fully believe that the ex gratia grant will bring a much needed relief for an industry responsible for ferrying over 60% of the commuting passengers and which serves as the main mode of transport for our masses to work on a daily basis, underlying a need for our government to support this industry. So
Thuthu.
Okay. Afternoon. They are still sorting out the light problem. It appears that the generator that is powering this place overheated because we're already on load shedding. I don't know. But what I'm requesting we allow, because we don't want to keep you indefinitely here. There are people who came very early, Minister, and some of them are hungry now. What I would like to do is to request that the Minister is able to address, even though the light is not here. With your permission, Minister. Thank you very much. We'll welcome the Minister, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, who is also our Director General in the Department of Transport, Babe Advocate James Mlau, abaqhamuka ku-department kwi-public transport branch, ngibingelele uPresident weSantaco, uMr. Tsebe, uDeputy President we-NTA, uMr. Mahlangu, ubuholi bonke beSantaco ne-NTA, kanye namalunga aqhamuka ku-taxi industry yonke. Ngibingelele uCEO we-Taxi Recapitalization South Africa, Mr. Hisham Naidu, the leadership and management of the South African taxi industry, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I was advised that I need to mix the language that I can speak, the vernacular language that I can speak, as well as English, because others may necessarily not understand the language that I speak. But first of all, I wish to thank you all for accepting our invitation to participate in this Taxi Relief Fund relaunch program. And we are also faced and pleased that the industry has continued to support programs of the Department of Transport. And on behalf of the transport, I want to thank the taxi industry for supporting our programs. I must indicate that we invite you in most of our programs, and you always honor our invitations. The collaborative relationship between government and the taxi industry has ensured that South Africans are able to attend to their needs from even the most remote parts of South Africa, and of course, remote parts of provinces, regions in our country. This democratic 30-year period has always compelled us to link public transport to the satisfaction of human rights, through which each and every South African must be able to realize their potential. March being the Human Rights Month, we know for sure that the industry also iya-eda ukuthi abantu bakhone ukurealize ama human rights abo. Without adequate provision and equal distribution of public transport across rural and urban areas, it will remain a major challenge to the majority of South Africans to realize their dreams and attend to their needs. Ladies and gentlemen, uba i-apartheid isithatha isisa endaweni esingazazi, endaweni ezikude nemsebenzi yethu, iyakwenza ukuthi sibe kude nokufika emsebenzini, for us to reach out to hospitals, to schools, to tertiary institutions, and other places of individual or group interest. And the taxi industry had stepped up to carry the burden, which should in large measure be the responsibility of the state. Even during the struggle and before our democratic dispensation, the taxi industry was there to transport our own struggle heroes. The taxi industry was there to transport those who were providing essential services. The taxi industry was there to transport oonesi okwakufanele bahambe baye emsebenzini when things were bad. And when the apartheid state stopped investing in passenger rail infrastructure, stopped investing in bus transportation, the taxi industry has stepped in to convey our people to the satisfaction of their daily dreams. It is also true that as we battled the COVID-19 pandemic and as South Africa needed essential workers to get to work and keep the country and the nation afloat, the taxi industry was there to ferry these essential workers. No one in South Africa can forget the morning when that nurse was traveling to, I think, Garankuwa Hospital and was standing on the road waiting for transport. And the taxi came to pick her up to work. And that remains in our eyes. When everybody was not there during COVID-19, particularly the hard lockdown, the taxi industry was there to transport the few that were going to work. And this industry has continued. And this industry has continued to grow, even in the face of many challenges it has faced throughout its existence. Therefore, as a democratic government, we have continued to recognize the immense contributions of this industry to the development of our people. And today, as we continue to implement a program of economic recovery, reconstruction, and growth, we can certainly depend on the continued support of this industry. The taxi industry ihambisa 70% of South African commuters. Uba i-taxi industry ingekho, abantu abakhona ukuya emsebenzini. But uba i-taxi industry ingekho, abakhoni ukufinyelela eduze kwemsebenzi. It is this industry that is able to be requested by a passenger to say, I am ill, please ngicela ungibeke eduze kwasekhaya. You can't do that uba ngabe ugibele ibhasi. I have my own experience. I remember one time when my sister passed on and we were in town escort. And when we came back, not aware, of course, having heard the news, we could not ukuthi sehle estation. And the taxi driver was able to drive us ayosibeka e-taxi egate lasekhaya. That is the experience that we have in the taxi industry, that is able to say, please passengers, because now we have people that are bereaved, let's drive them siyobabeka eduzane so that bangahambi ngeenyawo behamba bekhala. And for that we appreciate the work of the sector. So yes, even today as we are here to address this industry, we know for sure of the many problems that you have to go through. If we speak about the potholed roads, this sector gets affected. And when we interact with the industry, they will tell us, for instance, to say, but Minister, or even as Deputy Minister then, They will say to us, you know, you buy a new taxi, but within a month that taxi is old because of the roads themselves. And that is why we're doing something, we're trying our best to ensure that our roads are trafficable. But also, this is the sector that gets affected when they ferry their passengers and the roads are heavily trafficked by, of course, the trucks. And it is the taxi industry that gets affected because the people will be saying, but we're rushing to work. The people will be saying, we want to arrive at our place early. And sometimes you find that the drivers have, therefore, to do things that are not supposed to happen on our roads. And we appreciate that as the sector. The recent engagements with the road freight industry are bringing us closer and closer to a long-term solution in which we will see fewer and fewer trucks on our roads, especially on the long-haul national roads network. And this is giving us that hope that at some stage we're going to see the taxi industry being able to arrive at their destination well on time. We are trying our level best to ensure that we maintain our national roads in good shape, so that those that operate long distances, they operate on national roads that are in good shape. And therefore, SANRAL is doing everything to ensure that the roads are in good shape. But also, we are saying to provinces, and we'll share this with yourselves, we have said to provinces, your strategic roads, please hand them over to SANRAL so that we can maintain them so that they are also in good shape. Then you remain with your normal provincial roads, but also the municipality roads. Also, through the Cross Easy program at our borders, we have ensured that we gain the necessary efficiencies. We're reducing the long queues at our road ports of entry, but also we're shortening border crossing times and thus addressing cost to passengers and freight transport operators, most importantly, reducing the safety risks on the road caused by congested roads. So we take also into account those taxis that are operating across our provinces and of course operating in other countries, that they should not take long when they have to cross to other provinces. And the Cross Easy program, we hope that it's going to assist us. We also are looking at the issues of integrated public transport network. We are also saying, if, say, for instance, we request the taxi industry not to operate on a particular route, they should be the first to benefit from that. And they should be the first to be considered for whatever opportunities that are there. And if it calls for them to be paid, they've got to be paid and be compensated for such. And we insist on that. Where maybe municipalities want to change that program, we are saying no, but this is what is legislated and it has to happen as such. The taxi industry forms a crucial component of the integrated public transport, and it is for this reason that we will always be sensitive to challenges facing the industry, as any challenges affecting one component will have implications for the entire system, and this also refers to why we have this engagement today. The Department of Transport secured a once-off relief fund to the value of 1.135 billion rand. So not 1.5 billion rand, not 1.4 billion rand, not 1.2 billion rand, but 1.135 billion rand. That was in 2021 to assist the taxi industry in dealing with the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The relief was based on the principle of ex gratia payment, that is, paid only to taxi operators with the valid operating licenses. In March 2021, the department then appointed the National Empowerment Fund to be the implementing agent of the fund, because it was going to be difficult for the Department of Transport, as the Department of Transport, to manage this fund. So we had to get a company or somebody to assist in the management of the fund. and of course the disbursement of the fund. Although the rollout of this unprecedented relief fund experienced delays in the initial stages due to contracted engagement with the taxi industry, it finally got underway in January 2022, and Cabinet approved the validity of that fund until 31st of March 2023. So from January 2022, it was to be valid until March 2023. And this is what Cabinet approved. And I just want to emphasize this point, because any payment or any claim that could have happened after March 2023 will have been regarded as an irregular expenditure. So yes, maybe those who had made their claims before the 31st of March 2023 could be paid after that, but no claim could be placed after March 2023, because that's what government had agreed, and that's what the Auditor General was going to audit. Based on the initial count of the number of taxis available, it was decided that the operators were to receive 5,000 rand per license. However, following a thorough analysis on the operating license information system, it was realized that only a number of 141,987 operating licenses were on the system and therefore qualified to benefit from the fund. As at 31st of March 2023, when the tax refund relief fund period lapsed, a total of 85,364, which is 60% operating licenses, were paid. And this was out of 141,987. This amounted to 426 million rand, 8,020,000 rand. 820,000 had actually been disbursed. And therefore, if you subtract that from 1.135 billion rand, it left a balance of 708 million rand, 180,000. That has not been disbursed. So we have this balance that has not been disbursed. Normally, it would mean that that money should actually go back to Treasury as unspent money. But then the department approached Cabinet to request for an extension of this money to afford as many taxi operators as possible the opportunity to benefit from the fund. Cabinet in August 2023 approved that we could continue to pay and to disburse this amount of money over a period of 12 months. So of course the money that we have now, that must be disbursed. It has got timelines again. Based on the number of qualifying operating licenses, I would like to announce that an increase of the amount paid per operating license from 5,000 rand has now been increased to 7,200 rand. Operators who applied in the first round of the project should apply for a top-up of 2,200 rand. So if you did not get your money, you had applied, but you had not paid your 5,000 rand, you qualify to apply for your 7,200 rand. If you have got 50 taxis and each taxi has its own operating license, you're going to claim for each and every taxi. If they are 5, you're going to pay for the 5 operating licenses. And that is 7,200 rand. Emanating from the taxi imbizo resolutions, the department has actually appointed the Taxi Recapitalization South Africa to implement the second iteration of the fund. And the Taxi Recapitalization South Africa is the one company that is responsible for the scrapping of our taxis under the tax recapitalization program. So we're going to use it to disperse this money. But of course, let me indicate that in order to qualify for tax relief fund, you have got to meet some criteria. And I think that is what was presented both to National Treasury when we got the money, but also to Cabinet. And therefore, the criteria will be communicated to the taxi industry. But I think the first one is the fact that you must be a South African citizen. So you must have your ID that proves that you are a South African citizen. But of course, you must have an operating license or a receipt that proves that you have actually applied for the renewal of an operating license. And therefore, the list is this and that and that, and I want to believe that that will be communicated to yourselves. If, of course, you have somebody who owned the taxi industry, Ubab Chikunga owned the taxi industry but passed on, and therefore I'm the wife or I'm the child, I must therefore be able to produce a letter of authority, which we get from the Master Court. I have it from Babchikunga, and also a certified copy of my ID, and of course a copy that proves that Babchikunga passed on, and therefore the death certificate, and of course Babchikunga's ID, if I have it. And I think this one will also depend on whether Home Affairs did not take the ID or I still have the ID. I just want to say that sometimes Home Affairs, when you report death, they cancel the ID, sometimes they even take the ID. But of course, that will be the issue. And of course, proof of residence of the executor. If I'm the widow of Babchikunga, then of course I must prove that I stay at Elukwatini or wherever else. And of course, a bank letter confirming proof bank account of the estate. And I have got to produce all this. In order to intensify the marketing initiative and improve the outreach of the fund this time around, we have actually said that the TRSA plan must actually employ project ambassadors and deploy some of them as field workers into taxi ranks for live registration and face-to-face interaction. So what we are saying that over and above the online registration, in order to have as many operators registering, they will have to appoint field workers azoba khona lapha ema-rank arejistise the taxi industry so that you benefit from this taxi relief fund. It is important also to note that the Department of Transport has focused not only on such relief programs, but that the department has continued to implement a strategy to grow the industry through sustainable empowerment projects that the department has designed and developed with the scope of the revised tax recapitalization program. So yes, the taxi recapitalization program is still in force. From 55,000 rand where it started, today I think we're at 151,000 rand that we are paying for any taxi that is scrapped. And for many years, the taxi industry has not been bringing this. However, this year we have seen the increase, particularly in provinces such as Mpumalanga. And we want to encourage the taxi industry to continue to do this. We also have quite a number of other projects, like for instance, the automated fare collection, which I think we will be explaining to yourselves. The 24-hour service and spare retail center, modeling an automotive sector service hub, which centralizes township mechanics and related enterprises by providing an environment focused on technical skills and training and SMMEs development in the automotive value chain. But also we're looking at things such as container retail solutions that will provide a simplified and cost-effective solutions that drops a retail container at a predetermined location for the sale and distribution of taxi vehicle spares and spare parts and tires and competitive prices, and with minimal losses of production to the operators. We're also looking at things such as the Yahamba mobile application, which also will be explained to the taxi industry. One other matter that I need to alert you on is the issue related to the draft public transport subsidy policy, which has been approved by Cabinet for public consultation. We request the taxi industry to get this draft policy and make its inputs. One of the reasons why we have not been able to subsidize the taxi industry is because the policy that we have focuses on the service providers. But what we want to introduce is the policy a focuser to the public transport user, and therefore the passenger. Whether the passenger is a taxi, noma is a basini, noma igupi that is providing the public, providing public transport, that passenger must be subsidized. And we believe that by so doing, the taxi industry as well will benefit. However, we definitely want to get some input from the taxi industry. So already the policy is out there. The commencement for public consultation started on the 31st of March this year. And the closing date, of course, I think it is towards the end. In fact, it's towards the end of this month. It's been out from the 23rd of February, and the closing date is the 31st of March 2024. We request that we get the document and you look at it, you get your lawyers if you have, but yourselves as well, you sit down to say what should be our input. You submit your inputs to the Department of Transport. And we urge you to participate in this important process. There are quite a number of proposed interventions, but of course, you will get that. If you want the department to come and address you as the sector, particularly on this subsidy policy, the department will be able to do that, so that you are able to ask questions from them, so that when you make your inputs, you have a better understanding of what is being proposed in the policy. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, it should be mentioned that the department will arrange a consultation session with the taxi industry in due course as part of the final consultation with key stakeholders on the matter of the subsidy. So yes, whether you are inviting us, but we are also inviting ourselves as the department to say we will, before the end of March, invite the taxi industry so that we can share with yourselves the contents of the policy, because we believe that once and for all, the taxi industry will benefit, or it's given the opportunity to make its inputs, so that, of course, when the policy is approved by Cabinet, it can then benefit the taxi industry. We will also continue to consult with the industry on additional opportunities entailed in our recapitalization-related empowerment programs. Program Director, I just want to say this. Personally, as Cindy Chikunga, I have respect for the taxi industry, and I care about the sector. I don't hesitate to defend the sector. I have been called at some stage the minister of the taxi industry, and I don't mind being called like that, because South Africans use you more than any other mode of transport in South Africa. There were no elections, none whatsoever. When we had the problem at Western Cape, I left everything and stayed at Western Cape. I arrived first, even then in the leadership, I was there. And when things were hot and difficult, when I was seated in the meeting after the consultation as government, because remember we still had to consult as government, when we then had to meet with the taxi industry, and I was feeling the pain when the people with taxi industry, I lost it. Because they were actually requesting, like pleading for what is due to the taxi industry. And they were pleading like it's not their right to have it. And I lost it. They were there. The taxi industry was there. The leadership was there. And I lost it. And I said, but you cannot plead for what is in the Act, for what is in the National Land Transport Act, and plead for it. The issue, and we say this, the issue, yokuthatha imoto eyenzeke biyenzeka eWestern Cape, it's got only two conditions. One, if you don't have the operating license and you are operating as a taxi, then your car can be impounded. Two, if you are operating outside the conditions of the operating license. The conditions of the operating license should be in the letter and spirit of National Land Transport Act. So the conditions are fanele ati le taxi number 7 i-operator isuka emgaqweni or ku-taxi rank X or isuka eNelspruit eMpumalanga ihambe iyoma eWitbank isuke iyoma etaxi bani ePretoria. Ifanele isho ama-conditions, and therefore you must be found u-operator lapho. Those are the conditions. But the conditions cannot say uma ngabe u-overtaker ngiyalinganisa, which you're not supposed to do, which is illegal and unlawful. If you overtake on the barrier line, that the National Traffic Act applies. As it applies kimi nasemotweni yomunye umuntu. So kunomthetho i-National Land Transport Act, the National Land Transport Act, and the National Traffic Whatever Act. Le umthetho ewu-2 lo munye u-applya kuwo wonke umuntu osemgaqweni. Yingakho itaxi yakho ayifanele ukukrossa irobot elibovu njengoba neyami imoto ayifanele ukukrossa irobot elibovu. And kuwona lowo mthetho awukho u-impoundment. So as a matter of fact, uma ngabe ngikrossa irobot elibovu, nawe itaxi yakho ikrossa irobot elibovu, ifine yethu iyafana. But uma uku public transport, angikho ke mina ku public transport. So wena ku public transport kunomthetho wakho o applya khona, and that is the National Land Transport Act. Vis-a-vis the National Land Traffic Act, lo wesibili. So kune National Land Traffic Act, umthetho wethu sonke esebenzisa umgwaqo awu apply njengoba ngila endlini. But the moment ngiba semgaqweni, the National Land Traffic Act applies. Give me ne taxi yakho. So nami kufanele ngibe ne driving license. Njengoba no driver wakho kufanele abe ne driving license. Ebesi eda ithi because u driver wakho u driver abantu kufanele be ne PDP. Uma ngabe u drive engenayo license, nami ngingenayo license, umthetho we National Traffic Act u apply kithi sobabili ngokufana. And ku National Traffic Act awukho alikho igama elithi impoundment. Alikho. Igama laika impoundment liku National Land Transport Act. Likhuluma ngama conditions awu-2. Udriver ungenayo i-operating license banga impound imoto yakho, noma udriver outside ama conditions operating license yakho. And those conditions afanele abe in the letter and spirit se National Land Transport Act. Western Cape, what they did, bathathe izinto eziku National Road Traffic Act, bazithatha bayiletha kuma conditions. Bazo eda ifine engekho, usijeziso esingekho. You can't use a condition to add into engekho emthethweni. And that is what we're saying. And this is what we are saying even today. But as a matter of fact, as the department, we even got a senior counsel opinion, and therefore we are right. And this is what we are saying even to provinces. Even the provinces that we are leading. You can't impound the taxi for into a National Road Traffic Act. National Road Traffic Act, we are fine umuntu ungam arrest driver ungambopha ejele. So kudinga icala eliya ecourt, but ingala you impound. You don't impound. And that is why umubophu driver, fanele ngibophu driver afike umnikazi wayo athatha itaxi ahambe. Now, into eyayingenza ngiluze ithemba was when the people, they were actually saying, siyacela ukuthi ningayibophinda imoto zethu uma ninga impound. It's not something that we need to ask for. It's what is in the act. And I want to believe that, and I want to urge you as the sector to read the National Land Transport Act, because it is your Bible. It's about the public transport and the conditions under which anything can happen or cannot happen. And if the conditions in your operating licenses are outside the letter and the spirit of the National Land Transport Act, those should be looked into so that they are in the spirit of the National Land Transport Act. So, I want to say this. We are not coming to announce this to you because there are elections. It's very true that there are elections, and to be honest, ngingakujabulela ukuthi nivotele iparty yami nami. That is true. And I can still say ukuthi maybe it is time that we sit down as the sector and say, do we want a coalition national? Something that is not happening, working today. Do we want to president so and so today, the following day it's another president, and chaos happens and reign in South Africa? And if not, we've got to process things and choices that we make to say what exactly do we want as South Africa, so that South Africa is a sovereign country. And for me, we cannot this time around not think and think properly. Uguti, who do we vote for? And any voter siyenzayo issue outcome, but issue with South Africa per se. We cannot have what we see here at Tshwane, what we see at Johannesburg, what we see at PE, what we see anywhere where there are coalitions, what we see at Gomaspala. It can't happen national. We have a responsibility to protect and to protect the sovereignty of South Africa. And that is why I say to you, as the sector, as you sit and discuss, do not be emotional about it. But I think we need to process these things and say we have a country, and that one country is South Africa. We cannot go elsewhere. Sise South Africa siyofela khona, and abantwana bethu, we must be able to hand over to them a South Africa and an order. And it's us today. Okufanele sithi iyiphi order esiyidinga eSouth Africa. We might be angry, surely kukhona la singabe sicasulene khona. Kodwa mina ngwakaChikunga. Uyabona kuba Chikunga ngelinye ilanga uvuka ekseni ngisho ukuthi hayi le ndoda le ingicasule enough. Kodwa yeye ngimthande njalo. Ngimthanda ubaba Chikunga enjalo ngoba wangenza umama Chikunga. Otherwise ngabe ngusindi sibani bani ngumama Chikunga ngenxa yakhe. So ngimthandela lokho. Uyayibona leyo nto. So kungenza ukuthi ubaba Chikunga nomama Chikunga ngoba nathi siyathetha so mama Chikunga. Kungenza ukuthi uvuka uthe nalomfazi lo hayi akathuli kodwa umfazi wami ngamkhetha kwabaningi. And angeke ahambe mama Chikunga. So sisho ukuthi this is 1 year and these are the only elections where we need to consciously say we have a country to build. We have a country. It's not about me. It's not about my anger or happiness. But there is a bigger picture, and that picture is South Africa. And we have to contribute to that bigger picture, which is South Africa. We will not contribute to creation of chaos with South Africa. I thank you very much.
Very well. Siyabonga kakhulu, Minister. Let's give another hands for Umama Chikunga. Good people, mhlambe you were all here. So nibonile ukuthi siqala umhlangano kuke kwaba nesidingo sokuthi sibuyele ngalesi yoxoxo. I think it's important that even though our program wasn't saying that, after uMinister sekhulumile, usually the minister speaks last. But it's important that we solidify what happened here today. Ngoba sihambile saxoxa sabuye sakhuluma. Kune homework ekhona and sisabambene ngezandla, we are working together. So what I do think we want to do is that I see my president Santako has stepped out, but we are requesting that deputy president that you say a few words. I don't prescribe what you say. I just ask that the presidents briefly speak after the minister. That would be in order. So that nobuholi obukhona la bazi ukuthi akodwa siphume bethe in relation to what the minister was saying. After that, I will then make announcements and we round up. I think my presidents agree. Niyavuma. Ngicela nize president siqale ngo-deputy president NTA. Ngiyabonga baba.
Lochani Dumelang Abushini Liperile. Good afternoon and goeiemiddag. Yeah. To our minister, our honorable minister, I am very much impressed to say it very proudly that our minister has got the taxi industry at heart. We were listening to you, Minister, when you were talking, representing us in Western Cape. We were listening to you and we confirm that you were talking on our behalf and we are very proud of you. Now, the long and short of what I'm going to say is that the minister has said everything about the subject matter for today, which is a relief fund. So the processes will go to the respective structures for processing and so on and so on. That's clear. Now, in the other meeting where we were with the minister, there were issues raised by the taxi industry. Those issues, we actually just agreed that we are going to deal with them as the two structures, which is NTA and Santaco. We are going to do them formally in writing. Siyombhalela uMinister izikhalo lezi esizithole ngale muva ku-taxi industry. Siyobhala iletter A1 enama-letterhead I2 Santaco and NTA, or siyobhala, yes, or siyobhala ama-letter I2 ebuya ku-Santaco nebuya ku-NTA ezikhuluma umessage oyi-1, ezine-item A1, agenda A1, esizocela ukuthi uMinister adile ngazo. I don't think there's a necessity ukuthi ngize-explain ngoba niyazi ukuthi the priority kithi ku-taxi industry is the permit or operating license. Loko kunye nje hayi. Siyazi ke ukuthi especially kwezinye indawo i-operating license yakho yaphela mawe-renew ithatha another 6 months or a year. Kwezinye indawo mawu-apply nje just for replacement. Iyokuthatha unyaka or 2 years. Now that is a disadvantage to the taxi, and we are saying, Minister, please, we know you are capable, we know you can do it. Take our issues serious. The apartheid government was giving us indefinite permit. So our government has shortened it to 7 years. And that 7 years, my paylile, you struggle for another 3 years to get it back. So we are saying, Minister, please consider our issues and come back to us within the time agreed upon on the other side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Without waste of time, I think you've been here for long. Minister Chikunga, DG Program Director, representatives from the National Department of Transport, MEC of Transport in Gauteng, National Leadership of Santaco and NTA, Provincial Leadership of the taxi industry, Regional Leadership of both structures, taxi operators and everyone within our working ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, good afternoon. Today, Minister, we are gathered here to address a critical issue that affects many hardworking individuals in our community, the plight of taxi operators. These dedicated individuals in whose name we are gathered here form an integral part of our transportation system, ensuring that people reach their destinations safely and efficiently, often at great personal sacrifice sometimes. COVID-19 hit the taxi industry hard. Travel restrictions, lockdowns, and economic downturns, we saw our collective income dwindle, making it increasingly difficult to make ends meet and to support our families. We face mounting expenses such as vehicle maintenance, fuel costs, and insurance premiums. Therefore, our need for support has never been more urgent. The establishment and dissemination of relief funds specifically tailored to assist the taxi industry during this challenging time cannot be overstated, considering that there has been a slight update in the increase in the funds. We know some of the provinces that were encountering problems even during the first round of the 5,000 per vehicle. I can quote the Free State because of the so-called ad hoc permits that they were having, which are not appearing on the national database. I think that has been corrected, and the Free State will be able to apply in their numbers. Even those that did apply, you can top up and get the remaining money. By providing the relief fund, we not only support the livelihoods of taxi operators, but also safeguard the vital role they play in our society. And I normally tell most people that when you look at the database, some of us here or some of our members are even applying for the 350. That it shows there's a problem. So for us to receive this money, yes, we know there are challenges. We'll address those challenges as we go on. I urge policymakers, community leaders, stakeholders to come together and prioritize the well-being of the taxi industry. Together we can ensure that these unsung heroes receive the assistance they need to weather the storm and emerge stronger on the other side. So I had another visitor. I can announce that during, when we started this year, we started on a very high note when we lost in Ntate Mosibi. Most of the members were saying the industry is going to be in carcass. We are going to fight each other. We are going to kill each other. So I wanted to announce that I went further as the president of this organization to engage, of course, with the support from the Minister of Transport, Ubabu Manza Kaba, and other members who are in with us today here, Bobabu Utwala, when the things were not normal at MTN Taxi Rank. And we came together to resolve the matter, and we can announce that we resolved the matter, and we agreed that no more or no driver must be killed in our name again. And as Santiago, I even invited, because sometimes it's good that we talk things when someone is still alive, that MCB has taught us that imali ayifuni umsindo. Nabanga umsindo imali angeke ihlale. And uJoe Sibanyoni was here, said to me, I want peace and only peace. And we call all the groups together. And I must announce that I did not solve this problem. They solved the problem on their own because they've got solutions to the problem. I only facilitated the process. We had other issues in the province of Limpopo. We took, the chairperson has just got an accident. We took 1.5 hours to resolve the issue of vendor Johannesburg and Johannesburg vendor last weekend. And matters are coming together, and all that we can urge that for us to be successful and to have successful successors, we need to work as a unit. Let us be united. I thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my leader. Siyabulela kunonke. Minister, with all of you leaders, I'm requesting one little indulgence. We are late, we are closing. But when the minister spoke, she indicated that in order to do the work and for you to process the claims, we have recruited a partner as a department. I think it might be important that just for 2 minutes, the CEO explains the process. One of the things that came in the conversation when we were in that room was that there are persons here in the industry, my presidents, who had made applications and they didn't get. I think part of what we must now do is just to make sure that the process has more energy, it's easier, and we are going to rely on them. So with your permission, Minister, I just wish Visham to just recount what we expect. And as I said earlier, when we are done, feel free as well later to see the vehicle that they have. What it is, how we're going to do this. Visham, thanks.
Thank you, Program Director. The Minister, MEC of Transport Gauteng, DG, Leadership of Sintako, nationally, provincially, all protocols observed. I want to try and dispense as quickly as I can in terms of the requirements for this program. As has been already indicated, the application process for the Taxi Relief Fund will be processed by the Taxi Recapitalization South Africa. So it's our pleasure and honor to actually activate this program for the minibus taxi industry, including e-hailing services, cross-border transport, and scholar transport. So that's very important. The minibus taxi industry is the primary beneficiary, but it does include other operating license types as well. What's very important in terms of this process, it is a paperless process. It's an electronic application process that can be done via various deployment channels. One of those happens to be outside this afternoon, and those of you that are wanting to apply in person, if you haven't already, that opportunity does exist. What's very important in terms of the process has been indicated. There are certain specific requirements. You must be in possession of an operating license that was valid at 26 March 2020. If your operating license had expired prior to that time, you must be in possession, as the Minister indicated, of a receipt showing an application for renewal. What's also important is that you have to be a South African citizen in possession of a ID document, alternatively a permanent resident. Also, those that have operating licenses in business registration, in businesses, a business registration certificate will qualify for participation. In addition to those, we need certified copies of those documents, either it be a ID or a business registration certificate. Second to that, we need confirmation of your bank account details, a bank stamp confirmation letter. That then needs to be supported by a proof of residence, and finally, proof of registration for tax purposes. And when I say proof of registration, it is not a tax clearance. It's just a confirmation that you are in fact registered for tax and have a tax registration number. These are the only requirements that one needs to have to qualify for the process. As has been indicated, those who have applied in the past and have been paid the 5,000 Rand, they will then qualify to apply for the top-up portion, which is 2,200 Rand. Those who have not applied at all can apply for the total amount of 7,200 Rand per operating license/vehicle. So as the Minister says, if you have 5 of those, you will then obviously qualify for 5 times 7,200 Rand. What's important in terms of the channels, very quickly, you can apply online using the National Department of Transport website. There is a link on that website that allows you to apply on your own, as I indicated. Alternatively, there is a call center that is being driven by the Taxi Recapitalization South Africa. The details of that call center are in the pamphlets that are being sent out, so you can apply using the call center as well as a second channel for application. Thirdly, you could also walk into any one of the TRSA existing sites nationally. We have an office in each province. You can apply in person where an official of the TRSA will assist you in that application process. The last channel is what we have, as I mentioned earlier, a mobile service unit outside. It's about us taking this process to the operators in terms of where they are located. The mobile service unit will be deployed to taxi ranks and to areas of high concentration of operators looking to apply. These will be advertised on the Department of Transport website as well as the Taxi Recapitalization South Africa website, so that you are aware as to where these mobile service units will be deployed. What's important, this is where we are looking to advance the employment of youth. We will have field workers branded in the TRF uniforms that will engage directly with yourselves, the operators, and process your application. I think, Program Director, that is all that I would want to mention in terms of that. We wish you luck in terms of the application process. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Minister and Toraj MEC, thank you for your patience with us. Nagini Nong, we realize that we have taken a lot of your time. If I may just make the following announcement. The first is that when we finish here, we believe there is some food for you through that door. We will all be able to get food. Secondly, we are not quite done at this table we're still going to go and see the live demonstration that Visham was referring to. But as I say later on, any of you who wants to see it is welcome to do so. But let me also make this announcement, and thank you, Minister, for reminding us about this. The past festive, the December one, which was full of long weekends, if you noticed, there was a decrease in accidents. This department, this minister wants to acknowledge your role in that campaign. Thank you for being part of that campaign. But we want to make a further plea. We are going to Easter. We are going to Easters for this year. We ask much. So at this time, we will draw our event to a close and really thank everyone. At this point, I will ask that the main table, the entourage, can rise and go in view. Thina ngobuningi bethu sifile nje sifumane into edliwayo. Siyanibonga nonke. Siqhubeke ngobunye. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.